Tonight's top stories. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is set to certify as urgent the measure suspending the collection of systems loss charges from power consumers. The Department of Finance, or DOF, throws its full support to the President's proposal on tax reforms. The impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte continued today. And the greatest Filipino tennis player of all time, Alex Ayala, does it again. We'll give you all the details to that in a bit. All of these and more on PTV News Tonight. Good evening. Welcome to PTV News Tonight. While slashing a fixed monthly household expense for heads of households or family breadwinners is good, the President wants to lighten their load even more by way of a tax credit that seeks to increase the current annual income tax exempt threshold for individuals from $250,000 to 350,000 pesos. And the Finance Department is all in on this presidential initiative, as our Sheila Natividad narrates in this report.
The Department of Finance fully supports all the reforms and measures mentioned by President Bongbong Marcos at the State of the Nation address as far as it relates to the Department of Finance and its attached agencies.
The Department of Finance, or DOF, expressed full support and confidence in all the tax reforms emphasized by President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. in his 5th State of the Nation address. The goal of the President is for every Filipino to feel the benefit of their hard-earned income.
Bilang natatanging proteksyon sa kanila at para mas mapakinabangan nila ang pinaghirapan nilang kita, nananawagan ako sa Kongreso upang maipasa ang batas na magbibigay ng bahagyang ginhawa para sa ating bayaring buwis.
This includes the proposal to raise the personal income tax exemption threshold from an annual income of 250,000 pesos to 350,000 pesos. If enacted, millions of Filipino workers will benefit from the bracket change for tax relief.
If this reform is passed, it will go up from 5.1 million Filipinos to 6.3 million Filipinos, meaning 5.1 plus 1.2 equals 6.3 million Filipinos exempted.
Some of the supported tax relief measures of the DOF also include a lower minimum corporate income tax for micro, small, and medium enterprises, a one-time tax abatement program for qualified micro taxpayers, a general tax amnesty which is currently under review by the Department and the Bureau of Internal Revenue, and an expanded scope of VAT-exempt medicines. Apart from the aforementioned tax relief measures, the DOF is also ready to support the possible suspension anew of excise tax on LPG and kerosene.
Ayon sa batas, if the price of Dubai crude oil exceeds $80 a barrel for a 30-day period, the DBCC may make a recommendation to suspend excise taxes.
For now, the government hopes that through these proposals, more Filipinos will experience a reduction in their tax burden while maintaining funds for essential government programs and services. Sheila Natividad, for the Nation.
The Department of Energy, Energy Regulatory Commission, and power supply distributors are all on board with the President's order to take off the system loss charge on the bill statements of consumers' service subscribers. This, as the Department of Energy Secretary maintains, a full implementation could take as much as a year before the full discount kicks in. The full report from our Vincent Elijah Canlas.
Eatery owner Rona is currently paying for nearly double her electricity bill. Because of this, the call to remove the system loss charge from monthly bills is a huge relief for her.
Liliit yung aming bill, madadagdagan yung puhunan namin. Okay naman, malaki rin naman ang at least mababawasan yung mga bayaran pa namin.
Panahon na para tanggalin na natin ang systems loss na pinapasa sa consumer. Pinapasa ito sa consumer at kinakarga sa bill na pinapatungan pa ng value-added tax. Hindi naman kasalanan ng consumer kung bakit nagkaroon ng systems loss.
This move was pushed after President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. demanded the amendment of the Electric Power Industry Reform Act, or EPIRA, from the Congress during his fifth State of the Nation address. EPIRA is the law enacted in 2001 to manage and regulate the nationwide electricity generation, transmission, and distribution system. Under the current system, the system loss charge, or the fees for electricity lost during transmission from plants due to technical delays or illegal connections like jumpers. Even though it is not directly consumed, it is passed on and charged to regular consumers. Currently, the system loss charge accounts for approximately 5% of the total Meralco bill, while the ERC sets a maximum recoverable system loss of up to 8.5% for private distribution utilities like Meralco. To end this policy, the Department of Energy or DOE immediately responded to study the right mechanisms for implementing the said reform.
It may result to about 5 to 10%. Kasi meron po tayo mga distribution utilities ng kanilang system losses can go as high as 16%. Yun po yung ano natin. So, nakikita po natin, immediate yan is save tayo sa 5, but it can go as high as 10% per kilowatt hour.
The department also emphasized that the public should not bear the burden of lapses by distribution utilities and electric cooperatives.
Kasi dapat naman yung mga pilferage na system loss, dapat hindi naman bayaran ng iba na nagbabayad. So, this is in line with the call of the President to lower the cost of electricity. Kasi ang inefficiency ng isang electric co-op o distribution utility, dapat hindi po nako-compensate ng mga taong nagbabayad ng electricity.
However, the DOE admitted that full implementation could take up to a year due to the needed replacement of equipment by cooperatives.
I would say before the next SONA, 1 year. Hindi kasi ganun kadali lang na we can issue policies, Alvin, but the implementation side of the electric co-ops they have to purchase some new equipments, mga ganun. So it will take time talaga.
According to a statement from the Energy Regulatory Commission or ERC, it supports the President's call and stands ready to cooperate with the Congress and the DOE to implement the reform. Manila Electric Company or Meralco also expressed readiness to discuss with the government the potential impact of removing the system loss charges on the operational sustainability of distribution utilities in the country. Elijah Canlas for The Nation.
Bringing out the system's loss surcharge issue in opening his State of the Nation speech drew praise and plaudits from lawmakers inside the Batasan plenary last Monday. Now the president wants those who cheered and lauded his consumer relief proposal to predicate their support by way of a piece of legislation he could link. And he wants that bill on the table fast, as our Kenneth Paciente reports.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is set to certify as urgent the proposed measure suspending the collection of system loss charges or the cost consumers pay for the electricity loss during the transmission and distribution. This comes alongside the proposal to expand income tax exemptions. Senator Erwin Tulfo has filed a bill seeking to abolish system loss charges. Meanwhile, House Majority Leader Sandro Marcos and Speaker Bojo D have pushed a measure seeking to remove annual income tax for workers earning $350,000 and below. These are among the legislative measures President Marcos Jr. urged Congress to pass during his fifth State of the Nation address on Monday.
Ang kailangan lang po kasi makita yung mga bill. At pag nakita po ng Pangulo ay definitely yan po ay isi-certify as urgent.
During the inauguration of the country's first interactive energy museum, held in conjunction with the 25th anniversary of the Electric Power Industry Reform Act or EPIRA, the President reiterated his call to remove system loss charges imposed on consumers.
During my last SONA the other day, I asked Congress to amend the EPIRA to remove the charging of system loss to consumers, including the corresponding VAT. It's only fair that Filipino families pay for what electricity they use, not for inefficiencies that really are beyond their control.
The Department of Energy has begun consultations with stakeholders and is carefully studying how the proposal can be implemented, with the goal of reducing electricity bills by around 5 to 15%.
As much as I would like to say na
kaagad-agad to. It takes time lang to study it para rin kasi hindi lang kasi DOE, actually DOE hindi nagdidikta ng presyo. We have to talk to NEA in which it has around 150 cooperatives, and then we have to talk also to NGCP and all our generation companies na marami yan. So it will be a multi-party direction, no? Kaya it just give us time.
The palace clarified that the proposal is not intended to shift the burden to distribution utilities. Instead, it said power distributors must take a more aggressive approach in addressing the causes of system loss.
Ang nais lamang po ng Pangulo ay tiyakin din ng mga utility companies na mayroon silang isinasagawang plano at pagmamonitor para maiwasan po itong losses na ito. Lalong-lalo na po yung mga losses because of theft, pilferage, na napapasan ng mga maaayos at mga matitirong mga Pilipino na nagbabayad ng kanilang mga obligasyon. So, dapat itong sagutin ng utility companies.
The president said the country's power sector has significantly progressed over the past 25 years under EPIRA. The country's power generation capacity has more than doubled. Private sector's participation has expanded, and renewable energy now accounts for about 25% of the country's total electricity supply. However, the president acknowledged that high electricity rates remain a major challenge.
At the same time, we recognize that the electricity sector reform is an ongoing process. Significant gains have certainly been made. Critical challenges remain, such as high electricity rates, amongst others. And that is why we are working closely with our private partners and the government to advance the proposed amendments to EPIRA, particularly to support the ERC.
The president also urged the public to support the government's initiatives promoting the efficient and responsible use of energy. The president also inaugurated the Philippines' first interactive energy museum, which aims to give Filipinos a deeper understanding of how electricity is generated, transmitted, and used. Kenneth, pasyente for the nation.
On the 10th day of the impeachment trial against Vice President Sara Duterte, the Senate Impeachment Court resumed the proceedings and focused on Article 1 of the impeachment complaint concerning the alleged misuse, questionable liquidation, and systematic misappropriation of confidential funds. Two former Land Bank branch managers, Violeta Constantino and Ninita Campuzano, took the witness stand to testify regarding irregular cash encashments. The first witness, Violeta Constantino, revealed that she processed 4 separate checks, each worth 125 million pesos, for the office of the Vice President or OVP. Constantino described the transactions as unusual, noting that the large sums were released in cash and packed into gym bags, rather than being processed through standard check disbursements. Meanwhile, Ninita Campuzano testified on 3 separate 37.5 million peso check encashments for the Department of Education or DepEd. Campuzano confirmed that such large cash withdrawals were highly atypical for their agency. The impeachment trial is set to resume on August 3. The impeachment court has issued subpoenas to 2 Commission on Audit or COA state auditors to testify on audit findings and notices of disallowance. On the 10th day of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial, former Land Bank branch managers testified that multi-million peso cash withdrawals made by the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education were highly unusual, focusing on the Article 1 misuse of confidential funds complaint. Bernard Ferrer tells us more details in this report.
Unusual po ito.
This was how former Land Bank Show Boulevard Branch Department Manager Violeta Constantino described the 4 separate encashments for 125 billion pesos checks by the Office of the Vice President or OVP during the impeachment court hearing on Article 1 of the Articles of Impeachment or Misuse of Confidential Funds. The prosecution presented Constantino as the bank officer who processed the 4 checks For Gina Acosta, the OVP Special Disbursing Officer, the checks were in cash on December 20, 2022, February 6, 2023, April 25, 2023, and July 14, 2023. Due to the large amount involved, the cash was released by the teller inside a back room.
Nirelease na po ni teller yung cash kay Miss Gina in packs po siya worth 1 million each po.
Okay, so maalala po ba ninyo kung ilang packs po ang nirelease kay Miss Gina Acosta?
Bali 125 packs po yun.
125 packs. Okay. Now, pagkatapos pong i-release itong pera in packs, in 125 packs, ano na po ang susunod na mangyayari?
Bali nilalagay na po nila yon sa dala po nilang bags.
Okay. Ngayon, meron po kayong binanggit na bag. Madam Witness, anong klaseng bag ang pinaglagyan ng pera kung maalala po ninyo?
Sa pagkaalala ko po, isang mahabang malaking bag po siya. Para pong gym bag.
According to Constantino, the cash was placed in 3 to 4 bags during this transaction. During his interpellation, Sentro Judge Erwin Tulfo asked Constantino why she did not inquire about the purpose of the withdrawal despite describing the 125 million pesos encashments as unusual.
Kasi po may advice naman po siya. So, kumbaga dumaan naman po ito sa proseso nila.
Alam niyo po ba na ito ay for intelligence fund, yung wini-withdraw?
Hindi po.
Hindi niyo po alam na Intel fund ito.
Opo.
Pero nagduda po kayo sa ganitong kalaking halaga. Is that correct?
Sa personal opinion namin sa bangko, parang syempre po, saan kaya gagamitin po yung cash na to? So, pero hindi naman po namin tinanong na.
Constantino testified that while the Land Bank Show Boulevard branch also serves other government agencies, none had withdrawn amounts as large as those of the OVP because government transactions had already shifted to online transaction. She added that the branch typical cash transaction is only around 500,000 pesos. Senator Judge Rizzo Ontiveros also asked whether in Constantino's 32 years with Land Bank, she had ever processed a cash withdrawals as large as 125 million pesos in cash by the OVP.
First time po.
Sabi nyo nga kanina, unusual yung amount. First time may ganyang amount na 125 million pesos. Bakit nyo sinabing unusual? Ano yung floor nyo para sabihing unusual yung isang amount?
Usually po kasi kaya naging unusual para sa akin kasi cash po siyang kinukuha.
Mm-hmm.
Sa other, naman po is, kumbaga nag-issue po sila ng mga cheque sa yung disbursement po nila. By checks po, hindi po cash.
Okay. So hindi lang yung laki nung halaga na 125 million ang unusual din na yung ganyang unusual amount ay sa cash kinuha at hindi sa mga cheque.
Opo.
Also taking the witness stand was Anita Camposano, former branch manager of the Land Bank DepEd branch. Camposano testified that she processed 3 checks worth 37.5 million pesos, each for Edward Fajardo, the Special Disbursing Officer of the Department of Education or DepEd. Fajardo personally encashed the checks on February 22, 2023, April 26, 2023, and July 13, 2023. Senator Judge Francis Kiko Pangilinan then asked whether DepEd's 3 separate encashments of 37.5 million pesos could be considered usual or unusual.
With Land Bank DepEd po, for government agencies, unusual po ang amount ng pag-withdraw.
Ano ang usual na masasabing transaksyon for government agencies?
For DepEd, sir?
Yes.
For DepEd, parang nagre-range lang ng mga nasa... I'm not sure masyado, sir, pero parang mga 10, mga nasa ganoon lamang.
10 million cash.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yung 37 is almost 4 times more than the usual.
Yes, sir.
The defense panel's cross-examination of Camposano was brief. The impeachment trial will resume next week on August 3. Bernard Ferrer for The Nation.
The impeachment trial against Vice President Sara Duterte intensified on its 10th day as witnesses detailed unusual large large-scale cash withdrawals of confidential funds that were allegedly transported in duffel bags. Vel Custodio gets us up to speed on today's proceedings.
The House panel of prosecutors described the start of the presentation of the first article of impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte as an appetizer.
Ang unusual ay appetizer pa lang. And unusual is the perfect start for the prosecution pagdating sa confidential funds.
During the trial, the prosecution presented copies of 4 checks worth 125 million pesos each for encashment, all issued in the name of OVP Special Disbursing Officer Gina F. Acosta. Former Land Bank Shaw Boulevard Branch Manager Violeta Constantino testified that during the first cash withdrawal, she was inside the bank's back room with the teller, the branch cashier, Acosta, and authorizing officer Limuel Ortonio.
Tatawagin ni teller si Miss Gina Acosta para ipa-receive na yung cash. Ano na po ang susunod mangyayari pagkatapos pong i-inform ni teller si Miss Gina Acosta?
Bali, since malaki din nga po yung amount, ina-guide po si Gina Acosta papasok po sa backroom para po doon i-release yung cash. I-release na po ni teller yung cash kay Miss Gina in packs po siya worth 1 million each po.
Pagkatapos pong i-release itong pera in packs, in 125 packs, ano na po ang susunod na mangyayari?
Bali, nilalagay na po nila yon sa dala po nilang bags.
Constantino said the cash was placed inside the 4 gym bags and loaded into a trolley on December 20, 2022. Her testimony and the timeline she provided appeared to match the earlier statements of alleged former aide and bagman of Vice President Duterte, Ramil Madriaga, during the House Committee on Justice clarificatory hearing on April 14, 2026. Based on Madriaga's affidavit, the cash deliveries he alleged made to various locations were also carried in 4 duffel bags.
Money deliveries under the instruction of Sara. In the morning of December 20, 2022, Sara called me and she said, "Sir Ram, please coordinate with Colonel Nolasco. Meron tayong deliver sa San Pablo, Laguna, sa Night Street, at sa Ombudsman."
We will pursue that point when the prosecution presents another witness that would substantiate yung anggulong yan, no?
Also taking the witness stand was former Land Bank DepEd Branch Manager Nenita Camposano, who testified on the encashment of 3 checks worth 37.5 million pesos each. She said that while other government agencies also encashed large amounts at the bank, it was highly unusual for the Department of Education to withdraw cash in the millions.
So regular po, not unusual. Tama po ba?
Unusual siya sa Department of Education dahil during my time, yun lang po yung malaking withdrawal ni Department of Education.
Meanwhile, the impeachment court issued subpoenas to former COA Intelligence and Confidential Funds Office State Auditor Roderick Wamil and State Auditor Celine May del Campo to testify on the alleged misuse of confidential funds of the Office of the Vice President and Department of Education. They are expected to discuss the audit process, their findings, and the notices of disallowance when the impeachment trial resumes on August 3. Vel Custodio for The Nation.
In the meantime, the Department of Social Welfare and Development has placed its response teams on alert for the potentially adverse impacts of the low-pressure area in easterlies affecting various parts of the country. According to DSWD Assistant Secretary Irene Dumlao, the agency has prepositioned its mobile command centers, mobile kitchens, and response personnel to address the needs of families that may be affected by the inclement weather. The DSWD is also advising the public to remain vigilant as heavy rains could trigger flooding and landslides. At present, the agency has assured the public that millions of family food packs and other relief items are ready to immediate distribution. These include stockpiles from the Luzon Disaster Resource Center in Pasay City, as well as supplies prepositioned in Central Luzon, the Calabarzon, Mimaropa, and the Bicol region. The Philippine National Police, or PNP, is close to identifying the perpetrators behind the improvised explosive device, or IED, that exploded outside the Department of Justice, or DOJ, and recovered near the Senate. PNP Chief Police General Jose Melencio Nartatis Jr. confirmed that authorities are pursuing some leads regarding the separate incidents. He assured the public that ongoing investigations are being conducted to determine those responsible. Authorities are exploring the possibility that the two incidents are linked. According to the PNP, it is also possible the motive was intimidation, though this is still being verified as part of the ongoing investigation. The Sandigan Bayan 5th Division has dismissed the motion to fix bail filed by Senator Jinggoy Estrada, which sought to post bail in his plunder case related to flood control projects. According to the court's resolution, it is premature to file the motion because bail hearings must be conducted first. The court further explained that an individual facing a case punishable by reclusion perpetua does not have an unconditional right to post bail. They also stated that a hearing is necessary for the court to determine if the evidence is strong or if the accused may be granted bail. According to the court, Estrada has not yet filed a formal application for bail, and since no hearings have been conducted and no evidence presented yet, the court has no basis to grant it. Drainage clogging as a result of trash accumulation is a major reason for widespread flooding in perennial hotspots in the megacity, most of them near rubbish-congested waterways. Precisely what happened when the rains fell and poured since over the weekend, and which had the MMDA flood control crew working hard and overtime to keep drainage inlets and waterway passages free from trash blockage, as we hear more from PTV's J.M. Thompson.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA flood control team, once again hauled a large amount of trash during their cleanup operation of various pumping stations, such as the Tripa de Galina pumping station and Vitas pumping station, as continuous rains pour over Metro Manila. They collected piles of trash, which is the primary cause of clogged waterways that worsens flooding during heavy rain. Heavy rain already started pouring last night, causing minor flooding in some areas in NCR, which is why the MMDA, along with the DPWH, continuously monitored and took action to ensure that rainwater flows freely through the drainage system. Few trees were uprooted along Roas Boulevard P. Ocampo Service Road, where members of the Road Emergency Group and Metro Parkways Clearing Group immediately conducted quick cleanup and removal of the fallen trees. Meanwhile, due to the continuous rain, floodwaters rose slightly in parts of Manila, such as some roads along Ramon Magsaysay Boulevard and Taft Avenue near the NBI. Minor flooding was also experienced in Mandaluyong City near Boni Avenue. The DPWH also monitored minor flooding in some areas of Las Piñas City and Pasay City. The agency did not waste time and immediately dispatched quick response teams to conduct declogging and cleaning of waterways. Because of this, the floods in those areas quickly subsided, and the DPWH, together with the MMDA, continues to monitor flood-prone areas to ensure floodwaters do not rise again. The MMDA once again reminded the public that proper waste disposal and avoiding dumping trash in creeks, rivers, and drainages is a simple step that has a big impact on the environment and helps prevent flooding, especially this rainy season. J.M. Thompson, for The Nation.
The president is a true blue pacifist who ignores false accusations and ad hominem attacks, let alone dignifies them with a response. So Palace Press Officer Claire Castro has taken it upon herself to deal with a horde of rabble-rousers and cheap-shot artists and defends the president from their vitriolic assaults with doses of truth formula and fact checks, like her latest one against presidential sister and the country's bratty second in line. The full story from PTV senior correspondent Clazel Pardilla.
It wasn't just the ICC in the Netherlands Senator Amy Marcos took a swipe at in her latest video.
Meron pang ICC sa Malacanang.
Anong ICC sa Malacanang?
ICC, Impacta Claire.
While the complete team of the person that was called Impacta was not mentioned in the video, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro fired back.
Kung sila ang nakapag-describe ng ganung salita, alam nila kung ano ang ibig sabihin nito. Alam nila ang description ng salitang impacta. It takes one to know one.
Senator Amy Marcos skipped President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s State of the Nation address. Meanwhile, the country's second highest official, Vice President Sara Duterte, was in the Netherlands and said she did not watch or read anything related to the SONA. Earlier, the Vice President described the President's SONA as a waste of time. Malacanang responded.
Ito po ay base sa konstitusyon. Ang hindi pagbibigay respeto sa SONA ay hindi pagrespeto sa konstitusyon.
The palace stressed that the President's SONA is important because it lays out the government's accomplishments and plans. The President vowed to hold accountable those behind the alleged massive flood control scam. He also called for the suspension of system loss charges on electricity bills. He urged the expansion of the income tax exemption. The President also promised assistance to the transportation and agriculture sectors affected by the surge in oil prices. He pledged a continued sale of 20 peso per kilo of rice. So in response to Vice President Duterte's claim that the President had failed to deliver on his promises, including affordable price,
parang ito po yung waste of time, sagutin, dahil sa walang basihan at walang kakwenta-kwentang mensahe. Alam po natin na lahat ng ito ay kasinungalingan. Nandiyan ang 20 pesos kada kilo na bigas na marami na pong nakaka-avail. Marami na pong nabibinipisyuhan sa mga kadiwa centers natin.
The palace also had this appeal.
Sa mga kababayan natin, lagi tayong maging mapanuri. Obligasyon po nating alamin ang katotohanan at huwag tayong sumunod sino man na nag-uudyok na manatili tayong mangmang sa katotohanan. Mabubulag po tayo dyan.
Kalay Zalpardilia for the Nation.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP and the Philippine Payments Management Incorporated or PPMI have introduced 3 new digital payment solutions aimed at enhancing convenience and accessibility for Filipinos. This includes Direct Debit PH, InstaPay Cash In, and InstaPay for Business. With Direct Debit PH, customers are allowed to authorize billers to automatically collect recurring payments such as utilities, loans, and subscriptions from their accounts on scheduled due dates. Under InstaPay Cash In, users can transfer funds between their own accounts across various participating banks and electronic money issuers. Meanwhile, InstaPay for Business provides higher maximum transfer limit for registered business from 50,000 to 500,000 pesos. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP has issued a reminder to Philippine entities to submit their foreign borrowing plans or FBP for the fourth quarter of 2026 and the full year of 2027 by September 30, 2026. This mandatory filing applies to resident entities seeking medium to long-term foreign loans from non-residents offshore debt issuances and onshore debt instruments payable in foreign currency. According to the BSP, these submissions are required under the amended Manual of Regulations on Foreign Exchange Transactions. The initiative allows the BSP to evaluate the economy's foreign funding needs, ensuring that foreign borrowing remains aligned with the country's debt servicing capacity and is managed properly. The Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources is promoting the culture of samaral or rabbit fish to diversify the country's aquaculture industry and create more livelihood opportunities for Filipino fisherfolk. The agency said Samaral has strong potential for commercial production due to its established culture technologies, growing consumer demand, and suitability for various aquaculture systems. Data from the Philippine Statistics Authority showed Samaral aquaculture production rose from 153.89 metric tons in 2021 to 361.57 metric tons in 2025, indicating room for further expansion. The DABFAR said developing the species could also create opportunities for value-added products such as dried, smoked, marinated, deboned, and ready-to-cook fish. Officials added that strengthening the entire Samaral value chain will help generate sustainable income for fish farmers while supporting the country's food security goals. The agency said it will continue to provide technology and market support to encourage the wider adoption of Samaral aquaculture across the country. As part of its efforts to promote environmental protection and create livelihood opportunities for local communities, the Philippine Reclamation Authority, or PRA, led the ceremonial turnover of seedlings for a 10-hectare national greening program site in Barangay Ramirez, Magallanes, Cavite. The project targets the planting of 5,000 indigenous and fruit-bearing trees, including Nara, Molave, White Lauan, Calamansi, Cacao, Rambutan, Avocado, and Guyabano. Aside from strengthening reforestation efforts, the initiative also aims to create green jobs for local residents who will be responsible for nurturing and maintaining the trees. And we'll have more stories after these reminders. Stay with us.
Sa panahon na lumiit ang kita dahil sa mataas ng mga presyo, mahigit 26,000 toneladang bigas ang binigay sa mahigit 2.5 milyong pamilya. At ito'y itutuloy pa natin hanggang umabot sa 8 milyong pamilya na makikinabang. Patuloy pa rin ang programang Benteng Bigas Meron Na. Ito'y nakakapagbigay ginhawa sa mahigit 12 milyong Pilipino sa buong bansa. Ang mahigit 800 nating kadiwa nasa buong Pilipinas ay sabay pa rin nakakatulong sa mga namimili at sa mga magsasakat mangingisda na direktang nakakapagtinda ng kanilang mga produkto.
For our next food crawl,
gusto ko talaga may suntok ng kape. O, dito tayo.
tara na sa another Chibugan. Kasama ang certified foodie na si Leslie Ordinario.
In fairness, hindi matamis at hindi lasang powder.
Ngayong linggo, alas 10 ng umaga.
Hindi naman ako high blood eh. Kakapacheck ko lang po. Okay naman po yung cholesterol ko.
Dito lang sa PTV.
Your Honor, we are offering the testimony of Miss Nenita Camposano to prove the following. Na si Miss Nenita Camposano ay isang retiradong empleyado ng Land Bank Department Branch from May 2022 to September 2024. Land Bank of the Philippines DepEd Branch ang nagproseso ng encashment ng 3 cheque na nagkakahalaga ng 37.5 million pesos bawat isa. Ang lahat ay pinasok sa account ng Department of Education. Bilang Department Manager ng Land Bank DepEd Branch, si Ms. Camposano ay personal na nakasaksi at nag-oversee ng pag-encash at pagtanggap ng pera mula sa cheque ni Mr. Fajarda.
PTV Consumer Watch. Bantay presyo sa gasolina.
Approximately 47.2 million single-trip transactions posted a 50% discount on the MRT3, with over 21 million trip transactions incurring the half-fare discount on the LRT2 since late March this year. Proof of the Marcos Jr. administration's efforts in improving the public transport sector and granting commuters fare relief, even as the government seeks to open 12 stations at the much-awaited launch of the MRT7 railway line next year. Our James Thompson has more.
With petroleum product prices rising once again due to tensions in the Middle East, discounts provided by the government to our jeepney drivers and other public utility vehicles are continuing, which will be expanded and sustained to address the disruptions to their livelihoods. The administration also prioritizes security with safe and proper transportation for the commuters, which was one of the points emphasized by President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. in his 5th SONA.
Dito sa Metro Manila, ang lahat ng mga sumasakay ng LRT2 at MRT3 ay patuloy na nagiginhawaan ng 50% diskwento sa pamasahe. Bukod pa ito sa mga espesyal na diskwento na ating ibinibigay tuwing linggo at mahahalagang kapistahan.
According to the Department of Transportation or DOTR, over 40 million commuters have already benefited from the 50% fare discount on MRT3, while over 20 million commuters were recorded on LRT2. Meanwhile, DOTR programs will continue to press ahead according to Secretary Giovanni Lopez, where discounts help commuters by allowing them to use the savings for other expenses such as food, medicine, and other needs. President Marcos also presented transportation infrastructure projects that are near completion, which will provide a convenient and faster travel experience for motorists and commuters.
Sa susunod na taon, bubuksan na rin ang 12 stasyon ng MRT7. Matapos ang halos 3 dekada, may bago ng linya ang MRT na tutulak pa hanggang Sacred Heart sa Quezon City mula sa North Avenue. At balang araw, aabot pa ito hanggang San Jose del Monte, Bulacan.
The DOTR will strive to complete these projects, which are expected to provide a faster, safer, and more convenient travel for every Filipino. J.M. Thompson for The Nation.
In the meantime, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has submitted the ad interim appointments of general or flag officers and senior officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines to the Commission on Appointments for confirmation. This includes Antonio Nafarrete for the rank of general, Michael Lohico for the rank of lieutenant general, with the other 2 for the rank of major general, 8 for the rank of brigadier general, and 2 for commodore. Anyone wishing to object may contact the CA or personally visit their office in Pasay City. The latest shutdown by law enforcement of a fly-by-night steel manufacturing plant inside a warehouse in Magalang, Pampanga raises serious questions on how much steel products of dubious quality have been put out in the market and bought by innocent consumers. Not only is the strength and durability of these sold items under question, but also the extent of their hazardous impact on physical health given traces of radioactivity found in them. Our Ryan Lucigas has more.
A warehouse in Magalang, Pampanga, allegedly being used to manufacture substandard steel products, was raided by operatives of the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission together with the National Bureau of Investigation. Authorities discovered more than 3 billion worth of substandard steel products stored inside the facility. According to the PAOK, the steel products were being sold to various parts of the country. This raises serious concerns that some of these materials may have already been used in the construction of houses, hospitals, and other infrastructure, posing a significant safety risk.
Mahalaga ang law enforcement action na ito dahil ang bakal na ginagamit sa ating mga tahanan, paaralan, ospital, gusali, tulay, evacuation centers, airports, seaports, government facilities, power facilities at iba pang critical na export.
Authorities also discovered suspected radioactive industrial materials inside the facility. Operatives also found machines allegedly used to melt Philippine coins.
These findings raise serious concern involving our national currency, economic security, and the possible misuse of undeclared industrial capabilities.
The plant's operations were immediately suspended. More than 300 workers, including Filipinos, were rescued by authorities. 4 Chinese nationals believed to be company officials were also arrested. The Department of Health also identified around 10 workers with suspected occupational radiological exposure.
Ang radiation ay hindi nakikita, naamoy o nalalasahan. Maaari rin hindi agad maramdaman ang epekto nito. Ngunit kapag hindi ito maayos at nakontrol, maaari itong ilagay sa pangalim ang mga manggagawa, ang komunidad at ang mga kapaligiran.
The suspects are expected to face multiple charges, including violations of the Philippine National Nuclear Safety Energy Act. Ryan Lisiges, for The Nation.
The gallant and principled stand by the country's naval and security forces in the latest harassment encounters in the West Philippine Sea has drawn yet more support from a European military powerhouse. Not only has the French ambassador hailed the country's unyielding yet lawful stand in its rightful maritime territories, but also cited the positive reforms in trimming the bureaucracy to ramp up trade and draw international investments. Our Gab Humilde has more.
French Ambassador to the Philippines, Marie Fontanelle, once again emphasized the importance of the continuous strengthening of the strategic and economic partnership of France and the Philippines. In her briefing, she expressed concern over China's continued intrusion in the West Philippine Sea and reiterated France's support for international law, a rules-based order, and freedom of navigation in the Indo-Pacific. Fontanelle also expressed France's readiness to cooperate with the Philippines in the field of defense, including hardware acquisitions and cybersecurity as part of the AFP modernization program.
We have a complete, comprehensive industry of defense. We can build our own assets and being completely self-reliant. That's something that differs and differentiates France compared to other countries. This is also the will in the past of our presidents. To be self-reliant in terms of defense and security.
Fontanelle is optimistic that negotiations for a free trade agreement between the Philippines and the European Union will soon be concluded, which she described as a potential game changer for bilateral trade. According to her, although the Philippines has taken steps to promote the ease of doing business, further reforms are still needed to attract more French companies to invest in the country.
You know, companies, they need predictability, they need stability, so that's what the expectation is. But I'm sure that the free trade agreement will be the signal that will also help change a bit the dynamic.
France is strengthening its cooperation with the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Agrarian Reform to strengthen food security, improve cold chain logistics, and boost dairy and food production in the country. The French ambassador also welcomed President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s emphasis on energy security in his 5th State of the Nation address. According to her, France is ready to assist the Philippines in assessing the possible use of nuclear energy based on their country's long experience in its safe operation.
We are ready to partner on this question as we have the expertise, and I was mentioning 70 years of experience, 70% of our energy mix, and 0 incident, which is of course important because with nuclear we have to ensure no tolerance for any accident, any incident.
Gab Humilde Villegas, for The Nation.
In the meantime, Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. has reaffirmed that the Philippines is not the initiator of tensions and aggressive actions in the West Philippine Sea. This following the seemingly threatening claims from the Chinese ambassador to the Philippines, Jing Huan. Patrick De Suz has the full report.
Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. wants stricter vigilance over any cultural exchange programs involving China. According to an investigation by maritime security think tank Sea Light Foundation, the university that hosted a symposium where Chinese scholars claim that Batanes is part of China is also the largest training destination for Chinese language teachers in the Philippines. In response, Teodoro said academic institutions should not be used to spread disinformation.
Pero itong pinakamalaking ebidensya na ma-exchange na ito ay bunga din ng siyang institusyon naglalabas ng fake news. Nonetheless, this calls for vigilance. Hindi ko sinasabing huwag tayong makitungo. Sinasabi ko lang, pag nakitungo tayo, dapat alam natin na baka may masamang pakay. Maging dudoso tayo.
The defense chief also pushed back against what he described as a threatening statement made by Chinese ambassador to the Philippines, Jing Chuen, who also accused the Philippines of provoking tensions. In an interview with a Chinese news outlet, Jing questioned whether the Philippines is prepared to deal with the consequences of conflict and confrontation. Teodoro responded that everyone knows who is actually instigating tensions.
Etong statement ni Ambassador na ito ay may halong banta. Hindi lang tayo pinangangaralan, galit-galitan pa, nang babanta pa. Kaya naalibadbaran ng mga Pilipino sa kanya. At saka sa punot dulo ng mga mensahe niya. Pangalawa, sino ba nanggugulo dito? May karapatan ba sila na gawin sa atin ito mga ginagawa nila? Wala. No? Kung ikaw doon sa China, mag-text ka lang na mali, kukulong ka na eh.
The Chinese ambassador's remarks came despite his meeting with President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. last week, where they discussed efforts to reset Philippines-China relations to prevent another incident in the West Philippine Sea following the encounter at Ayungin Shoal. Teodoro said China can prove its sincerity by leaving the West Philippine Sea.
Walang pagkukulang tayo sa pakikitungo sa kanila, sobra-sobra pa nga. Nasa sa kanila naman yun. Hindi sa cultural exchange. Hindi sa pagbibigay ng ano-ano. Malis sila sa West Philippine Sea. Simple lang yan eh. 200 nautical miles lang yan sila. 900 kilometers nga layo nila.
Meanwhile, the Department of Foreign Affairs said it is ready to participate in any investigation into the provisional understanding on Ayungin Shoal. This follows the Senate resolution filed by Senator Francis Pangilinan seeking an inquiry into the controversial agreement and whether it is consistent with the Philippines 2016 arbitral award. The DFA said it is open to clarifying the matter in the appropriate forum and in coordination with defense and security agencies. Patrick De Jesus for The Nation.
Filipino tennis phenom Alex Ayala made another statement on the court after stunning reigning Olympic champion Jung Chin-hoon in the opening round of the Mubadala DC Open on Wednesday. The 21-year-old Filipino star once again showed her composure in the clutch, rallying past her Asian rival in a three-set thriller 4-6, 6-4, 6-1. After a tightly contested opening two sets, Ayala took full control of the decider, stringing together a series of breaks and aggressive returns that forced the Chinese standout into a string of unforced errors. Ayala eventually sealed the redemption victory over Jung, who had eliminated her in the semifinals of the 2023 Asian Games. Ayala will next face defending champion Leila Fernandez in the second round of the Mubadala DC Open later tonight. And our food for thought tonight comes from Spencer Johnson, an American physician and best-selling author, best known for Who Moved My Cheese, and as co-author of The 1 Minute Manager. His work often focused on personal growth, change, and effective living. And he once said, "Integrity is telling myself the truth, and honesty is telling the truth to other people." And before we end our newscast, please take the time to like, subscribe, or share PTV's social media pages flashing on your screen right now. It would go a long way and we would truly appreciate it. And so goes PTV News Tonight's roundup of tomorrow's headline stories. I'm Jay Esteban. Join us again tomorrow on PTV News Tonight.